my favorite crafting buddies. How are you today, boys and girls? Thank you so much for joining Crafting with Grammie today. I'm so happy you're here with me. Today we're going to continue with our Valentine's Day crafts. And today's craft is going to be this little guy right here. Today we're going to be crafting a Valentine's Day gnome. I've named mine Sweetie. What do you think you'll name yours? So join me. Let's get started crafting. Hi, I'm so glad that you're back with me. Let's get started. For today's project, you're going to need a bowl of rice. You're going to need some string, preferably white if you have it. If not, any color will do. You're going to need a piece of fur. I chose pink because it's Valentine's Day. It's going to be for his beard. You're going to need some straws. We have some felt hearts. I got these at the dollar store too, but if you just had felt around the house or even construction paper would work. You can make your own hearts. You're going to need a sock. And there's lots to choose from at the dollar store, or you may just have a pair in your closet or in your drawer that you're not using. You could use those too. I think for today's project, I'm going to match the one that I already made, and we're going to choose this X's and O's, hugs and kisses for Valentine's Day. You're going to need some yarn in any color that you want, or string, anything that you have around the house to help decorate his little hat. You're going to need a white sock. Again, you can use one that you might have in your drawer. You're going to need a hot glue gun. Now, if you don't have a low temp hot glue gun, make sure that you ask Mommy for help when you're working with a glue gun. That's very important because we don't want to get burned. You're going to need a pair of scissors. And the last thing you're going to need are some jingle bells. I have silver and red bells left over from Christmas, so I'm going to use those. But if you have any other color jingle bells around the house, you can certainly use those. Again, I got them at the dollar store. And to fill the body of your gnome, you're going to need some fiber fill. Now, Mommy can get fiber fill at the fabric store, but you know what I do? I take an old pillow that I have around the house that I'm done with. I cut it open and that's where I get my fiber fill from. So if you have an old pillow around the house, make sure and use that. And you're going to need a glass. It can be any size, any color, but it's going to help you to get the rice inside the sock. All right, let's get started with our gnomes. So step number 1. You're going to take that white sock and you're going to open it up as wide as you can. You're going to drop the toe of the sock down into that glass that I asked you to have handy. And you're going to take the edges of it and you're going to wrap it around the top of that glass so that it makes a little hole. That's where we're going to put the rice. So we're going to get started doing that. You can use your hand, which I'm going to do. And don't worry if you get rice, you spill rice, because that always happens to Grammie. So just keep filling that until you have all the way to the top, just like that. Then you're going to push it down. Push, 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 all the way down to the bottom. And then keep filling it some more. Once you have your rice all packed in there, it's time to take the sock out of the cup. So just take your fingers, hold it down like this, and lift that sock right out of that cup. And then you can set the cup aside so it's just out of the way. But you see what I did? Grammie spilled some rice. No problem. Push that rice down at the bottom. Shake that sock all the way down so that it forms a little ball. The reason that we put the rice in the sock is to give it some weight, so that when your gnome is standing up by itself, it's not gonna fall over. So that's an important step. Once you have the rice in the bottom, again, push, push, push. I like to fold my sock down 1, 2, 3 times to make it easy. Now we're gonna work with that fiber fill. Looks like clouds, doesn't it? Just take little handfuls at a time and you're gonna push it right down into that sock and just keep stuffing it in there. Just keep on going. Tear those clouds apart. Put them in there, put them in there. And what I like to do is really push it down in there. Keep on filling. We're gonna keep on going. The more fiber fill you fill, the bigger your gnome will be. Some gnomes will be tall and skinny. Some gnomes will be short and on the chubby side. It's whatever you choose. It's your gnome. I think I'm gonna go one more time. Keep pushing it in there. All right. I think that that's a pretty good start. So, let's set that aside for a minute and prepare a couple of the other items that we're gonna need to continue. Remember that white string I told you needed? Well, we're gonna take a piece of that white string and cut it, I would say maybe 3 hand lengths long. So 1, 2, 3. It's gonna be about right there. You'll need one of those and you'll need one more. So you're gonna cut 2 of those, right about the same length. Perfect. Now you can set that string aside because you won't need that anymore. We're gonna take those 2 pieces of string that we cut and we're gonna lay them flat out on the table. And look, Grammie still has rice on the table. It's okay. All right, we're gonna take that little sock filled with that fiber fill. Now your gnome, you're gonna have to come up with a cute name for your gnome too. The last step is we need to give this guy a nose, and you can decide if you want a big nose like him or a little nose or a little tiny nose, whatever size nose you choose. It's entirely up to you. It's your gnome and your creation. I think I'm gonna go with a medium-sized nose today. So you're gonna wanna take another little handful of the fiber fill, and you're gonna take it and you're gonna roll it in your hands and roll it, and the warmth of your hands is gonna help it to form into a little ball, and that's what you want. You're gonna take that little ball of fiber fill and go back into your sock, put it in there, hanging onto the ball, and you're gonna push it forward with your fingers, just like that. Can you see how I'm doing that? You can grab a hold there and push that out. If you need help with that, ask Mommy or Daddy. You're gonna hang on to that nose. Now you've made a cute little nose. And we're gonna take a piece of string and we're gonna tie that string around the nose. And it's so much easier if you wrap it around twice and then pull that string tight. And look at there. He's got a nose. Now you're gonna wanna tie that into a knot. You're gonna go 1, 2, and 3. There you go. Now, you've got these 2 silly strings hanging here. We don't need these. So right where you tied that knot, you're gonna take your scissors and you're gonna cut those off, making sure not to cut too close to the sock because you don't wanna cut a hole in the sock. So, boom, just like that. You'll end up with those, and guess what? Garbage. We don't need those. We're gonna toss those. All right, look at there. He's starting to take shape, isn't he? Now, we need to finish the top of his head. Now, with that other string, you're gonna tie the top of that sock right off. Make sure that all that fiber fill is down in there. Push it in there with your fingers, nice and tight. And then again, 1, 2, 3 knots. Pull it nice and tight between each knot that you make. And 3. Again, we don't need these silly strings, so let's just cut those off. There you go. There is the start of your gnome. Don't worry about this part. We can leave that. That's not going to make any difference. If you want to tuck it into itself or whatever, you can. But it's not going to show, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so there's the body of our gnome. Now, our gnome is going to need a beard. So, we're going to take that piece of fur and we're going to fit it to his body. Now, I made my gnome on the smaller side, so I'm going to need a smaller beard. So I'm going to have to cut. But you might want to hold your piece of fur up to your gnome and measure it and see just how much you're going to need. Now it's going to go right underneath his nose, just like that. And see how mine is just way too long. It's going to go right on off to the table. That's way too long. So we're going to have to cut that down. There's a secret to cutting fur, and you may need to get help with this. But if you just cut straight across with it, what's going to happen is you're going to cut the fur, and then his beard is going to be really super short. So we don't want to do that. So you always want to cut at the top. See how the fur goes down? This is the top. You want to cut from the top. So let's start. I'm going to need to cut about this much of my beard off because my beard was way too long. So you want to start by just snipping the edge and run the bottom of your scissor really tight to the top of the backing of that fur. And you're just going to go straight across with it, just like so. All right, you can take that top portion off that we cut and set that aside, and we can use that for another one later on. So when you cut from the top, you see the fur is still going in the same direction, and that's what we want. And we want a jaggedy edge here on the bottom. So that was just perfect. All right, so take that square and you're going to fold it in half, just like that. Hold it together on the corner. Take your scissors and put a snip right down the center of that front part. So when you open it up, it opens it up so you know exactly where the centerpiece was. Now, we need to make a space for his nose. He's got a big nose, he's got to have a big space of fur. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a notch in it. So we're going to cut a nice shaped V on either side of that notch that we made. And then you can pull that notch right out of there so that you end up with a V in your fur. See? Now, I like to do a rounded edge around the beard, the mustache part of my beard. So I'm going to cut the edges. I'm going to cut a triangle off of each edge of my beard, top and bottom too. So just like so. So you end up with a shape like that, almost like a circle with a notch in the top. Now, take your gnome, and you'll work with the nose facing you, but I'm going to do it away from me just so that you can see what I'm doing. You're going to take that beard, and you're going to push that right up under his nose, right where that notch is. You see what I did? The notch is right here in the center. You're going to push that right up underneath his nose so it slides nice and tight. And look, how cute is that, huh? Now comes the hot glue gun part. Now remember, please ask for help, okay? All right, we're going to take our hot glue gun and we're going to glue the top of that beard in place. Just like so. All right, let's do the other side. done with that hot glue gun, it goes back in its holster. All right, our beard is in place. What do you think so far? I think he's getting pretty cute, don't you? All right, now remember I chose to do the X's and O sock. Again, you can get them at the dollar store. We're gonna create his hat now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start by creating this little pom-pom on the top of his hat. And it's really, really easy. You're gonna, again, take a little handful of the fiber fill and do the same thing we did with his nose. You're just gonna rub it between your hands. Rub, 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 rub. So that you make a nice little ball. You're gonna take that ball and you're gonna put it up into the toe of that sock. Push it all the way into the top. All the way, all the way. Just like so. Then we can set it aside. Now you need to decide what kind of ribbon that you're gonna put on his hat. This one I did in white, but I think today I'm gonna do bright pink. So I'm gonna take my bright pink yarn. Now you can use whatever string you have around the house. It can be twine, it can be string, thing that you have. And you're gonna wanna cut a pretty good size length of that. Again, maybe the 3-hand measurement. Just like so. Let's take our gnome and set him aside. We won't need him for a bit. Now, back to our hat. You're going to lay that ball from the top of that sock right over your piece of string that you've laid flat on your table. And you're going to tie it off. Again, 3 knots. 1, 2, 3. But this time, we need those silly strings, so don't cut those off yet. Now, we need to choose what kind of jingle bell we want to put on our gnome hat. I think I'm going to go with, I think I'll do silver today. So I'm going to take my silver jingle bell and I'm going to string a piece of that yarn, one end of it, through the bottom of that bell and pull it out the other side. There we go. That can be difficult sometimes. If you need help, you ask Mommy or Daddy. String it on there, and then 1 more knot up at the top, and then tie a bow, just like you tie on your shoes in the morning. Gonna tie a cute little bow and leave some of it hanging down below so that it's going to look just like that. See my ends hanging down? You don't want to cut those off yet. All right. Now we're going to put the hearts on them. So let me get my hearts here. I think I'm going to choose white hearts to match his hat. But you could choose any color you want. Or you don't even have to put hearts on it. You could just tie the strings off the way you want. Maybe I'll make 1 pink heart and 1 white heart. So we're going to take that string that we made, kind of move that hat off to the side, and we're going to decide how long we want those strings to be. I think I'm going to cut mine about 3 inches on one and about 4 inches on the other. See how I did that? 1, 2. All right. Now, I happen to get these at the dollar store, and they're pretty nice because they have a sticky backing on them, which makes it pretty easy. So if you can get these, great. If not, that's what glue is for. So we're gonna lay our heart down and we're gonna take the end of that string and we're gonna put that yarn I said string, I meant yarn. Just like so that it sticks right to it. Then we're going to take another heart, peel the backing off of it, and we're going to put this one right on top of the other one. So just like that. And then push them together. Push, push, push. Push, push, push. And see what it made? Isn't that cute? I'm going to do one more. If you don't have sticky backed hearts like I do, you can use construction paper, you could use fun foam, you could use anything that you have. Maybe mommy has a piece of fabric left over from a sewing project. You could use that too. All right, so that finished off that part of my hat. See his little hanging hearts? Aren't those cute? All right, guess what time it is? It's time to dress our gnome. So let's move everything else out of the way so that you can see really well what we're doing. Put my hearts back in my container there. And bring our gnome back out. All right. Now this could be a tricky part. It's definitely going to take some strength. Again, back to our fiber fill. We're going to add just a little bit. Not too much, because then the hat won't fit too well. But we need to have it a little bit in there to help it stand up. See the way his hat stands up on its own? That's what we want to get done, okay? So we're going to put a little bit of fiber fill in there, just at the top, not too much, and just really pack it lightly. You don't want to shove it down in there. Just keep it light and fluffy. And that should do it. It doesn't take much. Now, you're going to take that hat that we just finished making and we're going to put it on our gnome. Now, the important part is, do you see how my sock has this back part? That's the heel of the sock. The heel of the sock needs to go in the back of the gnome. And you're going to take it and you're just going to slide it over the top of your gnome. Cover his nose and everything. Everything's going to get covered. Just like that. See the way his hat stands up when we put the fiber fill in it? Isn't that fun? Okay, now we're back to that hot glue gun. On the back of the gnome, you want to make sure that his sock is pulled down even. Again, where did his nose go? Don't worry about that. We'll fix that. In the back of the gnome, where the heel of the sock is, that's where we're going to put just a little bead of glue there, just to hold it in place while we're working with the rest of it. So we're going to lift that up and put just a little bead of glue on the back part of that sock. I think it's easier to put the bead of glue on the gnome and not the sock itself. And it's going to look just like that. You're going to give that a chance to cool down. Let it sit up with the glue. All right. While we're letting that sit up, maybe you should come up with a name for your gnome. I don't know. I think I'm going to call mine Sweetie. All right. I think we're ready to move on. Now, we're going to go to the edge, right where the hat meets the edge of his beard right there. That's where we're going to put our next bead of glue. Again, just a little bead. A little bit goes a long way with a hot glue gun. You don't want to get it on the beard, but just right behind it. Just a little bead of glue, just to hold that sock down on top. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So, behind the beard, just a little bit of glue. And again, let that cool down. He's starting to take shape, isn't he? All right. Now we need to go find his nose. Now this is the tricky part because you're going to want to hold down the edges on both sides. So take your hand and hold it down right where you just put those beads of glue down so that that sock is in place. You see how I'm holding that down? You want to do that. And while you're doing that, you want to set them down so that you have more control over them. You're going to take the bottom of that sock that's right over his nose and you're going to lift it up to expose his nose. And you're going to slide his nose right out of there. Just like that. Look at that. There's his nose. Sticking straight out. We're almost there. All right. Did everybody get their noses out? I hope so. All right. Now, we're going to tack down just the sides of his beard, but not at the top part. We're going to do it right along the bottom, right here. So we're just going to take, again, our hot glue gun and just do one little dab on his beard and put it into place. That's just going to help hold his beard down. But we're not putting it at the top right here. And there's a reason for that, and I'll show you that in a minute. All right. One more little bead of glue, not all the way down. Back in the holster it goes so we don't get burned. Okay. Now that's dry. We're almost done. Now let's concentrate on his little heart wand that he's carrying. So we're going to take our gnome and set him aside. And you see the little heart wand that he's carrying? That's what we're going to make next. So you're going to want to take that straw that you have. I just happen to have red and white straws, so I'm using one of these. And you're going to push one end in. You're going to flatten it down by, maybe a half of a finger length. Well, my fingers are bigger than yours. Maybe a whole finger length for you. Push it down, push it down, push it down so that it's flat. Do you see how I made it flat along the top? That's perfect. All right, let's set that aside. And now we're going to get the hearts to put on it. There's my little bag of hearts. And I think I'm going to start with red. And then I'm going to go to pink. And then I'm going to do white. Now you don't have to do 3 separate colors. You could do 1 color if you want. It's entirely up to you. That's the best part about being a crafter. It's all your own rules. You do what you want to do. That's the best part about being an artist, right? Okay, let's put all of our hearts back in the bag and get those out of our way. We're going to take our straw and that flat part that we made at the top of the straw, that's where we're going to glue our hearts. So, I am going to start with the big red one. You can start with whatever color you want, or you could even do a different shape on the top of your wand. It doesn't have to be a heart. It's your call. Okay, I've got the sticky back on one side. If you don't have a sticky back, this is where you'd want to take your glue and put a little bead of glue down the center of it to hold it into place. But I'm just going to stick mine right in the center so that it looks just like that. Look, I have a piece of fur hanging off of my heart. There we go. All right, then I'm going to take the same one and I can peel it apart. I tell you, these things are really sticky. And I'm going to line it up with the other one and put the sticky side to the sticky side. And whoops, I got my finger stuck in there. I told you they're sticky. And you're going to push those together so that you have a heart at the end of your straw. All right, I'm going to put some more hearts right on top of the red ones. So I'm going to do a pink one next. And again, I'm going to do them on both sides. So I'm going to line it up and push it on there. There we go. Now on to the other side. All right, I'm going to add that other pink one. And then real quick, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to add a white one on top of the pink one. When you get these hearts at the dollar store, there's a ton of them in there. You can use them for all kinds of crafts. So there's the white one. So I have red, pink, and white. And there I go. So there's my wand, my heart wand. Abracadabra. Isn't that fun? All right, now we're gonna grab our gnome, bring him back out, move his hearts to the side. I think I got this string a little bit long. His heart jumps down right on top of his nose. Oh well. All right, now remember how I said don't glue the very top of his beard? That we left a little pocket in there? That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna take that wand and you're just gonna put it right down through that pocket. Where is it? There it is. All right, just like that. Okay, now you can glue that other part of his beard down if you want to. I think I'm not going to. I think I'm gonna let it just remain the way it is. And that way if I want to take the wand out at any time I can. All right. He looks like he needs a haircut. His beard is just crazy. Aren't they cute? You're all done. You've made your Valentine's Day gnome. I'd love to hear from you and find out what you've decided to name your gnome. You could leave me a message and I'll get back with you. We received a video message from a little girl named Audrey in Birmingham, Alabama.
Hi, Grammie. I really love doing crafts with you. Maybe next time can I do something with a panda? They're my favorite animal. Thanks. See you soon.
Audrey, it was so good to hear from you. Thank you so much for getting in touch with us here at Grammie's Craft Corner. And we listened to your video and we thought it was a spectacular idea. So guess what? Our next video, we're going to cover making this adorable Valentine's Day panda. I think I'll name this one Audrey. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and we'll see you soon. Bye.